Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So, we will be doing economic survey in today's class. So, economic survey, it is a document prepared by government under Ministry of Finance. You have Office of Chief Economic Advisor will be preparing this economic survey. How this is different from budget? So, budget is an estimate. Budget is an estimate of receipts and expenditure for following year. So, budget is an estimate of receipts and expenditure for the following year, for the upcoming year. For example, the recently passed budget was for 2025-2026. So, economic survey, that is a report. This is a report of the economic status of the country in the current year. So, when we say current year, that refers to 2024-2025. Okay. So, I am mentioning this economic survey as current year's report by taking budget as the main point. Okay. But remember, see, budget will be presented on 1st of February. Economic survey will be released one day before the presentation of budget. So, usually it will be presented on 31st of January. Okay. You should know the 24-25 financial year, 2024 financial year, that starts from 24 April, it will go till 2025 March 31st. It goes till 2025 March 31st. So, economic survey is released on Jan 31st. That means government will not be having all 12 months data. So, economic survey will present to you the economic status of the country by taking 9 months data starting from April till December, right. So, when you read economic survey, all the data will be pertaining to 9 months, April to, so April 2024 till December 2024, okay. Or else specifically in the economic survey it will be mentioned, they are referring to a specific time period, or in general if they say that our export is increasing by this much, our import is decreasing by this much, they are explaining that by taking this 9 months data, right. Shall I proceed? Fine. So, we will discuss about economic survey from today. So, economic survey has totally 13 chapters. So, each chapter will be dealing with specific topics, like for example, the chapter 1 is introduction, that will give you an overall idea. See, in prelims economy what all we have studied? National income. So, you will have information about national income. Public finance, you will have information about the government, about the government fiscal policies, etc. Then budget, that is public finance. Inflation, banking, RBI, external sector, capital markets. So, these chapters, whatever basics we have studied, today's corresponding values of those topics, those terminologies, that will be presented. Then we will be having chapters on infrastructure, investment, agriculture, service sector, social sector, skill development. Okay. So, that part of the survey will be very much useful for your mains. For both prelims and mains, survey will be useful. But you will realize that all these topics which we are going to see today are already discussed as part of current affairs classes, either economic classes or current affairs class. So, do not expect me to explain economics survey like how I do in current affairs class, because when the topics is getting repeated, I will not repeat that topic. Okay. If it is completely new, I will give you an idea about that topic. Okay. So, in the process, we will also quickly revise the basics of the economics. So, chapter 1, state of the economy, getting back into the fast lane. So, this chapter highlights about, see, every chapter will initially start with global scenario and domestic scenario. So, here global scenario, the global economy is shaped by Russia-Ukraine war, Israel-Hamas conflict, policy uncertainties. For example, Trump came to power, he is reversing various trade policies. So, these policy uncertainties, Russia-Ukraine war, Hamas-Israel conflict, all these have shaped the global economy. IMF is predicting that the growth rate for the global average GDP for the year 2024, it will be 3.2%, and for 2025, it will be 3.3%. 100% in exam, these facts will not be asked. You just know that the global average will be hovering around 3%, right? So, when you look at the Indian scenario, see, I will be giving you a document. The slides will have pointers. Okay, this pointers will suffice, but document also will be shared. Okay, so in Indian scenario, the real GDP and the real GVA is growing at 6.4%. So, a quick recap, what is real GDP?
GDP is accounted for inflation.
When you calculate the GDP at the current prevailing prices, that is called as nominal GDP. So, what is the problem with this nominal GDP? It will include the influence of prices. So, we have to adjust the price condition and we have to measure only the growth caused by production. So, for which we calculate the GDP at constant price, that is called as real GDP. That is called as real GDP. Now, coming to GVA, gross value addition. So, real means at constant prices. Now, what is this gross value addition? What is the formula? GVA at basic prices is equal to GVA at factor cost plus exactly production taxes minus production subsidy. Right? So, what is GDP at market price? That is nothing but GVA at basic prices plus product tax minus product subsidies. So, when we bring this in this equation, what will happen? GDP at market price is equal to GVA at factor cost plus production tax plus product tax minus right. So, previously the GDP was calculated using product method at factor cost, but now we are using value addition method at factor cost, right. Apart from that, there is no big change, okay. So real GDP and real GVA are growing at 6.4%, global average 3.2, 3.3%. PFC, private final consumption expenditure. So we know the expenditure method. What is the formula for expenditure method? C plus I plus G plus X minus M, right. So when I say private final consumption expenditure, it measures to those expenditure made by the households for your personal consumption. This will not include the expenditure made by business firms, because that will amount to investment expenditure. So here we all, what you consume, what I consume, everything. So that is the private final consumption expenditure. So of that PFC, that consumption, private final consumption, that is growing at 7.3%. And this PFC's share of GDP is 61.8%. So I have mentioned in the class, India is a consumption driven economy, China is a export driven economy. So we people, we are a very big market. We people, we consume, we create demand, that demand results in production, that production results in GDP growth, right. Gross fixed capital formation, GFCF, that refers to investments made on fixed capital. So on machineries, on land, on buildings, all those will be fixed capital. So gross fixed capital formation, that is the investment made in the economy, that is growing at 6.4%. Different sectors, agriculture sector to grow at 3.8%, industrial sector 6.2%, service sector at 7.2%, right. The survey chapter 1 also highlights the fiscal discipline of the central government. See, in survey they will give a very big story. All those stories not required for our exam. That is why survey looks bulky. So ultimately what they are trying to say under this heading is, government's fiscal consolidation measures are serious. What is fiscal consolidation? The efforts taken to control the fiscal deficit, right. And also we know that government is substantially increasing the capital expenditure, because post COVID, the mood for the private investment is not so great. So whenever the private investment reduces, government will try to increase its part, so that, see, only when you have more investments, more production. Only when you have more production, more GDP. Only when there is more production, more employment. Only when there is more production, more GDP, more tax revenue. So investment is very, very important. Private investment is not so great because of various externalities. So government is increasing its capital expenditure. Survey also highlights about the state's financial position. It says that 15 states of their own tax revenue. So state will have their own tax revenue, a portion of the revenue of their own tax revenue in 15 states, that is accounted for more than half of their total tax receipts. That means, see, central government also shares taxes with the state government. Yes, state government exclusively they will have their own share of taxes. For 15 states, the state government's own share of taxes is more when compared to the, it is more than 50% when compared to the total tax receipts received. Likewise, ORR, states with higher ratio of own revenue receipts. That means central government can also help the state governments by giving grants. We have revenue, while discussing the finance commission, we have discussed there is revenue deficit grant, there is sector specific grants, right. So central government also gives grants, which is a part of revenue receipt. So here the states with higher ratio of own revenue receipts, If you go to northeastern states, central government shall be more when compared to their own revenue receipts. So here they are saying the states with higher ratio of own revenue receipts, those states has lesser revenue deficit. That means those states who is able to collect more taxes on their own, those states who is able to mobilize more revenue receipts on their own, their revenue deficits are lower, right? For 23 states, GST was the main source of revenue. For Manipur, 78% and Nagaland, 72%, GST is the main source of their tax revenue. Right? So coming to inflation, the CPI headline. So what is headline inflation? We all know CPI means consumer price index, WPI means wholesale price index. When I say CPI headline, that means everything, that will take into account of everything. When I say core inflation, that will exclude the volatile items like food and fuel, right? So CPI headline between April to December 2024 in that 9 months, it was around 4.9%. Specifically, we have CFPI, Consumer Food Price Index, which will exclusively measure the food inflation on the consumer basket. So that is increased to 8.4%. See, globally, efforts were taken by countries post-COVID. So during COVID, what happened? Lockdown, production stopped, GDP was not growing, it was growing in the negative side. So to revive the economy, all the developed countries, they started pumping in more money. In India also, we saw through Atmanirbhar package, more than 20 lakh crores worth of money was infused in the economy. Money supply was increased, right? This increased money supply was causing inflation. America was witnessing double-digit inflation, UK was witnessing not just double-digit, 30-year high inflation. UK 30-year high inflation, many European countries very high inflation. So once the growth was getting revived, most of the countries, they started tightening their monetary policies. That means they started increasing their interest rates. So they were containing the inflation. So in India also, our CPI is within the prescribed range of 4 plus or minus 2%. But when it comes to food items, because of various reasons, for example, climatic condition, fall in the production of tomato, onions, pulses, right? And also the Russia-Ukraine war, our dependence on edible oil imports. You should know 75,000 crores worth of money we are spending every year for importing edible oil, right? Russia-Ukraine is the main supplier of sunflower oil. So all these were having an impact on our food prices. So we are not able to keep that within the range, but as a whole, CPI combined as a whole, it is well within the range. Coming to the external sector, so you have separate chapters for every heading. This introduction chapter will give you an overall picture. Okay. Mercantile trade means what? Trade on goods. So export import of goods. With respect to goods, our imports are more than exports. Yes or no? When our imports are more than exports, then that is going to cause deficit. So our merchandise trade is having deficit. Service trade, surplus. Service trade, it is surplus. I hope you remember this. What is balance of payment? Balance of payment is a systematic transaction, means systematic record, which records all the transactions which we do with outside world. That is how NCERT is defining it. So it is nothing but a account book. That book will have the entries of all the transactions which we do with the external world, all, not just government. That means I am going to America, I am spending some amount of money, noted. I am investing in America, noted. Americans investing in India, noted. All the external transactions will be recorded. It's a systematic record of all the external transactions, all the transactions which we do with outside world. So that record book I am dividing into two. One is called as current account. Another one is called as capital account. So, current account we can further divide into balance of trade, BOT, net invisibles. Balance of trade can be, that includes export of goods, import of goods. Net invisibles, export of services, import of services, net remittances. Net means inward outward remittances. Then you bring all the gifts, grants, everything you can put under net invisibles. Capital account, external commercial borrowing, FDI, FII, NRI deposits, trade credits, etc. This is to name a few. See, there is a logic to differentiate current account and capital account. Like how we were categorizing revenue budget and capital budget through one-way, two-way transaction, we can apply the same logic here. All the one-way transactions will come under current account, all the two-way transactions will come under capital account. See, I export goods, I will get money. Will I give that money back?
No.
I import goods, so I pay money. Will I get that money back?
No.
Remittances, money transfer, simply money transfer. I am sending money to my wife. Do you think that wife is going to give it back like liability? It is not liability. It is just a transfer. Gifts. Indian president goes to Maldives, presents some gifts. Do you think that Maldives will give it back? So, all this one way will come under current account. Capital account, external commercial borrowing. That means you have to repay. Foreign direct investment, that can be disinvested. Foreign institutional investment, FII, that can be removed back, right? NRI deposits, NRI deposit is different from money transfer. Money transfer is my account to your account. NRI deposit means I put my money in the bank. So, I will withdraw it. The bank is liable to repay. NRIs cannot go for regular demand deposits. They can go only for time deposits. So, if I am an NRI from America, I am opening an account in SBI, I will be depositing money for a fixed time period, maximum of 3 years, not more than that, right. So, after that the NRI will take that money back. So, bank is liable to give it. So, bank is receiving, bank has to give it back, two-way transaction. Trade credit we discussed yesterday's class, right. These are 90 days loan, again it is a loan borrowed for trade purposes. So, this is one way of differentiating. So, here if you take our balance of trade BOT, that will be negative. Our net invisibles, that will be positive. But this negative will be so high, our current account has deficit. Are you able to understand? But capital account will be positive. Our capital account is so high, the balance of payment is positive. Are you clear? Yes. Any? I am talking about the current scenario. Current scenario, capital account is positive. Current scenario, see, that is what I am trying to highlight here. Mercantile trade, deficit. Service trade, surplus. Remittances, according to World Bank, we are the top recipient of remittances. Current account is deficit. This is the survey situation I am explaining. Okay. So, this is negative, this is positive, this is negative. FDI, it increased by 17.9% year on year. This April to November 24, you compare with the April to November 23, you will see a 17.9% growth, right? But though FDI has increased, the net FDI inflow got declined. Net FDI means, see, people invest in India, people from India will invest somewhere else, right? People invest in India, let us say McDonald's, they invest in India, they make profit in India. If that profit they take it out, that means the FDI is also flowing out, right? So, the net is declining because of an uptick in the repatriation. So, money is slightly going out, right? Foreign portfolio investment, that is nothing but FII, that is the foreigners investing in the share market of India. It will be always volatile. That means people will suddenly see what we are doing. We invest in share market, the price increases, okay, price decreases, we will immediately sell it. It is not a stable investment, so it will be fluctuating. We cannot appreciate FPI is increasing, we cannot feel happy. FPI is declining, we should not feel bad also. It is volatile. So, Forex reserve, we have $704.9 billion Forex reserve. That means whatever positive we are generating, ultimately that becomes a part of our Forex reserve. That is, for example, if current account deficit is 100, capital account surplus is 300, then what will be my balance of payment?
Plus 200.
So, this becomes my Forex, right. So, my Forex, our Forex is $704.9 billion in September 2024. As of September 2024, Forex is $704.9 billion. So, we have an import cover of more than 10 months. Import cover is a measure which is defined using the number of months of imports can be covered using our existing Forex. That means imagine there is no export is going to happen. Still for the next 10 months with this amount of money we can manage our needs. If I have to import something, I need dollars. How will I get dollars? By exporting I will get dollars. By foreign direct investments I will be getting dollars. Assume that all our external transactions is getting shut down. There is a war, COVID. Still with our money for 10 months, more than 10 months we can cover our import. 2016 prelims question. Import cover is seen in news. What is it? Okay. And also our Forex reserve is sufficient to cover 90% of our external debt. External debt, I am not talking about internal debt, external debt. So, whatever the country has borrowed from others. Say India, Guna has borrowed $10 from America. I have to repay, let us say $12. Now, I am borrowing $10. In India, I cannot use that dollars. I have to convert it into rupee. I have converted. Now, I have rupee. Now, tomorrow I have to repay $12. While time of repayment, what I will do? I will go to RBI. I will give my rupee. I will ask dollars. If RBI is not having dollars, then I cannot repay. So, here with our import cover, we have money to repay 90% of our external debt. That is significant. Clear? So, coming to the financial sector aspect, our GNPA has declined. So, yesterday I was mentioning about what is this gross NPA. It has declined to 2.6% of gross loans and advances. So, CRAR, what is CRAR? CRAR or CAR? CAR or CRAR, capital adequacy ratio or capital to risk weighted assets ratio. So, of course, there is nothing but capital divided by risk weighted assets. So, when this is called as CAR. So, when capital adequacy ratio is high, then the lending capacity of the banks will come down. When the capital adequacy ratio is low, the lending capacity will increase. According to Reserve Bank of India, the capital adequacy ratio should be 9%, but what did I say? Capital adequacy ratio currently it is around 16%. That means all the banks, they have adequate amount of capital, right? So profit after taxes, PAT means profit after taxes. For banks it is positive. ROE, return on equity, right? So the bank shares that is growing, so returns from the share growth is positive. ROA, return on assets, that is loans are given, banks will be getting interest, that is also positive. So PAT, ROE, ROA is in rise. So banks are profitable, that is the point to be conveyed. Coming to the employment trends, so PLFS, periodic labor force survey. What is it? Discussed in current affairs class. So it is a employment unemployment survey. It is released on a quarterly and annual basis. It is released by a National Statistics Office. This survey gives you 4 important informations. One is the labor force participation rate. Next one is worker population ratio. Next one is unemployment rate. Next one is activity status. Activity status, weekly status, and we have annual status, it is usual status. Whether you remember all these things. What is labor force? So let us take a country. Let us assume population is 100. Labor force means people who are working and people who are seeking work. Who is seeking that, right? People who are working and who are seeking work. That means someone who is not willing to work at all, he cannot be called as he is seeking work. He cannot be called as unemployed. So here is nothing but people who are employed, people who are unemployed, that is called as labor force. When I say unemployed, I will include only those people who are seeking job, but they are not able to get a job. Okay. So labor force participation rate, let us say workforce is 30, seeking job 30, that is people who are employed is 30, people who are unemployed is 30. Labor force participation rate means the percentage of labor force in total population. So labor force is how much? 60. So percentage of 60 in population is 60%. What is worker population ratio? Percentage of workforce in total population. So here workforce is 30, so 30%. What is unemployment rate? Percentage of unemployed in labor force. Percentage of unemployed in labor force. Labor force is 60, unemployed is 30, so 50%. Activity status means what? So it will have weekly, usual. So weekly status means people will be asked what you were doing in the last week. So Guna says, last 1 week I was jobless. Or I will be saying, I was working in a construction site. Or I was working as an IT engineer. Usual status means for 365 days. So from the date of survey, last 365 days, what you are doing. Guna will say, 100 days Manrega job. 100 days I was working in a construction site. 100 days no job, whatever. Now based on these information, periodic labor force survey will give you employment, unemployment information. Are you clear? Percentage of unemployed in labor force. Unemployed evlanga? 30. Labor force is how much? 60. Percentage, right? So this data you will be getting on a quarterly annual basis. Here there is a catch. For urban centers alone, using the activity status weekly basis, quarterly report will be available. So, quarterly report is available only for urban based on activity status weekly, and on annual basis you will be getting for both urban and rural based on both weekly status as well as usual status. Okay. See all these, I hope you are watching the 75 current affairs videos, please watch it. There is no need for discussing survey only, because what is survey? April to November whatever happened, that is what we are discussing in the class. You will realize that. Along with that you mix it with economics, that is economic survey. So, coming to the trend, so unemployment rate is steadily declining, labor force participation rate, worker population ratio is increasing. There is significant growth in the formal sector, that is the Employee Provident Fund subscription, PF subscription has significantly increased in the financial year 19. When I say financial year 19, that refers to 2018-2019. Okay. It was 61 lakh. Now 61 lakh people in the country were having PF contribution, PF subscriptions. That has been increased to 1.31 crore. So, significant increase the people working in formal sector. Alright. That is all. This is about chapter 1. Any doubts? Shall I proceed?
I have not understood one slide about the list, like the second point under state finances. That I have not understood.
Which one?
The states with higher ratio.
States with higher ratio of their own revenue receipts to their total revenue receipts. That means, let us check Tamil Nadu. Their total revenue receipts, assume 100. In this total, that means state governments, you know what all comes into revenue receipt, tax revenue, non-tax revenue. So, Tamil Nadu state governments exclusive, assume it is 60 or 70, we will put 70 rupees. Central government also will contribute,
Yes.
that is 30. So, here of total revenue receipt, the state government's revenue receipt is much higher.
Correct.
Such states revenue deficit is less.
Okay.
That is an observation, no concept here. But if you take Nagaland, what will happen? Of the total revenue receipt, assume it is 20. The state government might get 5, central government contribution may be 15. Such states, if you look at their revenue deficit, which is very high. So, states with higher share of their own tax receipts, own revenue receipts, that is having lesser revenue deficit. This is just an observation. Okay. Right. Next chapter is monetary and financial sector developments, the cart and the horse. See, survey is prepared by government, survey will always support government. Okay. So, my intention is to filter out the objective content and present you the exact facts given. All other politics, whatever they are discussing, I am filtering it out, unnecessary, that will make it bulkier. Okay. So, yes, the chapter defines what is monetary policy. You know that what is monetary policy? It is a policy carried out by central banking authority with an objective of containing the inflation, stimulating the growth, exchange rate stability, right. So, how it is achieved? By varying the interest rates. How to vary the interest rates? We have many tools, repo, reverse repo, open market operations, this, that, etc. So, what is monetary policy committee? So, we understood what is monetary policy. What is monetary policy committee? So in 2016, when Raghuram Rajan was the RBI governor, in 2015 only he appointed a one-man committee under the chairmanship of Urjit Patel. He was the then deputy governor. So for two reasons he was appointed. So one important reason is regarding this monetary policy. So till 2016, the monetary policy was decided solely by RBI governor. RBI governor will wake up morning 9 a.m., look at the newspaper, increase repo, decrease repo. He will be guided, but he takes the decision. It is going to have a nationwide implication. Such decisions should not be concentrated on one person. So Urjit Patel recommended setting up of a committee. Let there be a committee. Let the committee decide. So accordingly, in the year 2016, RBI Act was amended and a committee was set up. The committee will have how many members? 6 members. The Monetary Policy Committee is headed by whom? RBI governor will be the head of the committee. RBI will be represented by 3 members. Then 4, 5, 6 members will be nominated by Government of India. So totally 6 members. But who is the chairperson? RBI governor. Any decision in this committee will be taken by all the 6 through majority vote. In case of a tie, RBI governor will have casting vote. Will vote once again, will resolve the deadlock. Okay. So what is the primary objective? So again the 2016 only, Urjit Patel was recommending this because RBI, of course RBI regulates banks, but apart from that, as a part of monetary policies, they have the task of controlling inflation, stimulating growth, maintaining exchange rate stability. But achieving all these 3 things parallelly is going to be a challenge. For example, if you want to stimulate the growth, money supply should be high or low? High. If you want to control inflation, money supply should be low. So do you think both can be achieved parallelly? It is not. To a certain extent, but not always, right? So it is going to be challenging. So always RBI was facing problem. There will be external pressures. People will ask for controlling inflation. The industries will ask for reducing the interest rates. The government, depending upon the election time period, they will change their objectives. Parallelly, exchange rate should be stable. So the Urjit Patel committee was recommending something called as inflation targeting, which was saying the primary objective of monetary policy committee is to control inflation. That means when there is a conflict between these 3 objectives, RBI should give priority to controlling inflation. So the primary objective of monetary policy committee is to maintain price stability. What are the instruments used? You all know, repo, reverse repo, etc. From April to December, the repo rate was kept unchanged at 6.5%. We are having an unchanged 6.5% repo rate. And now the policy stance has been changed from accommodation to neutral. What does this mean? Accommodative stance, neutral stance, tightening stance, these are indications which the RBI will give to the market. For example, when the Monetary Policy Committee recommends the once in 2 months they will meet. Assume I am the RBI governor. We have all the Monetary Policy Committee members. I will come and say that we are revising the repo rate, we are increasing the repo rate, decreasing the repo rate, I am addressing the media, right? Then I will also give a hint to the market by mentioning RBI stance. That means if I say accommodative, that means in the coming year there is a chance of reduction in the interest rate. If I say neutral stance, it can go up, it can go down. If I say tightening stance, that means definitely interest will go up. So based on my stance, the market will get ready. If the interest rate is going to go high, what will happen? No, it is going to happen in future. Maybe the borrowing now can be increased. Or if the stance is accommodative, That means in future the rate is going to come down. So the business industries can set their field set to bring in more investments. So this is an indication given to the market. So the stance was accommodative. It is now changed to neutral. Okay. MO, M3 increased. MO is base money. M3 is broad money. We discussed, see again economic survey is using the formulas which we were discussing. Many textbooks, they are talking about M1, M2, M3, M4. Many students, my current affairs students, who are studying from different academies, they also come and ask me what is the exact expressions. Because many books is talking about M1, M2, M3, M4. But I will go only with the economic survey because that is the latest government document. Even in the actual document, they have not expanded the fullest expression like how we were doing. M3 is equal to M2 plus this plus this plus this plus etc. we discussed, right? That much big explanation they are not giving. They have just touched the concept. But anyhow, M0, M3 is increased. Money multiplier also increased from 5.5 to 5.7%. What is the reason for increase in the money multiplier is, the survey says, the government of India and the RBI's efforts to improve the financial inclusion made people to put more money in the banks, and we know more money in the banks, money multiplier will improve. So that is the reason which they are saying. See, RBI's financial inclusion index also shows that our index has increased to 64.2% from 53.9%. So we said GNPA declined. Capital to risk weighted assets ratio is 16.7. They will repeat only. In the first chapter, it's an overall introduction. Then credit to GDP ratio is increasing. I mean, not increasing. Wait. I'll explain this concept. Credit to GDP ratio. That means my GDP assume is 1000. My credit, that means bank loans, assume it is 100. So credit to GDP ratio, that is 10%. Yes or no? 100 divided by 1000, 0.1. If you convert 0.1 into percentage, that becomes 10%. So let us assume in a country, in India, 10% is the trend. Assume 10% as the trend. Normally, in normal scenario, 10% of the GDP will be the loan amount, assume. But if this credit to GDP, that ratio, if it is increases, that means 200 rupees has been given as loan. That means 20%. That is from 10%, it is increasing to 20%. From 10%, it has increased to 20%. So that means there is positive gap. This is the trend line. This is the trend line. Now currently it is 20%. That means the country, the government banks are giving more loans. There is a positive gap. So when there is positive gap, that means the bank is facing some stress because they have more exposure. If recovery is not possible, then they will be in serious trouble. But another good point is, more credit means more money supply in the market, that is going to stimulate the growth, right? Let's assume it is 5%. That means only 50 rupees loan was given. So it is going to be, it is going to be 5%, right? So that means this is negative gap. So what does this mean? Growth is affecting, money supply is less, but the banks are safe. Their exposure, their risk is less. Are you able to understand? Right. So the survey says between 2006 till 2012, there was positive credit gap. Positive, that means in that time period the banks are giving more loan because IT boom. And I was mentioning yesterday 2008-9 financial crisis, followed by that when many countries were forcing the companies to give the money back, Indian government was extending new loans. So more loans were given, positive. But what is the consequence? Economy revived. but still NPAs also increased. So when NPAs are increasing, the banks are under severe stress. Many banks will come under prompt corrective action. So prompt corrective action we discussed yesterday. Prompt corrective action has to be brought down, I mean, the indicators, what are the indicators of prompt corrective action framework? NPA has to come down, capital adequacy ratio should be within the limit, leverage should be within the limit. So efforts were taken to reduce the NPA. So when a bank comes under prompt corrective action framework, what RBI will say? Stop giving big size loans. That means now the loans given will come down. So after 2012, what happened is we went for a negative gap. Even today we are on the negative side, but that negative is coming down. Now see, if this ratio is greater than the trend, that implies building up of stress in the lending sector. If the ratio is less than the trend, it implies ample room for growth. Between 2006 to 12, there was positive gap. A burst followed by this credit cycle resulted in higher NPAs that slowed down the credit growth. Now the credit to GDP ratio gap has narrowed. It was minus 10, it has been brought down to minus 0.3. Are you able to understand? To understand this only they will take 4 or 5 pages. Alright, ultimate takeaway is credit to GDP ratio. Positive means what is the consequence? Negative means what is the consequence? What is the today's trend?
First followed by this credit cycle is explained.
What?
First,
What I was explaining, man? What I was explaining yesterday? After the financial crisis, we were giving more loans, then asset quality review was there, and IC1 companies were there. Yeah.
pricing bust means financial crisis.
Yes.
That was what I was thinking.
Okay. See, Raghuram Rajan, through the asset quality review, he was opening it up. A new Pandora box opened. Everyone realized what is the current status. That is the bust. Right. Development financial institutions. Again, in the economic classes we discussed. What is that? NAPFID. Right? We discussed in the economic banking class. That is during 1950s. Government was setting up like institutions like ICICI, not government and World Bank was involved in ICICI setting up. Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India, Industrial Development Bank of India, Industrial Finance Corporation of India. All these in 1999 became a universal bank because during the early days of independence, private players were not investing, only government was investing. Government was putting their own money as part of budget expenditure. So these banks with money, they were not able to do anything. So later it became universal banks, but now that is not the case. Private contribution is increasing. So we need to set up such institutions. All India financial institutions has to be set up. So NAPFID was set up as an all India financial situation, like how we have SIDBI, Small Industry Development Bank of India, like that. Use of artificial intelligence. So Hiroshima, so G7 grouping in 2023, they came with a framework called as Hiroshima AI Process Comprehensive Policy Framework. So this framework is guiding the countries how to use AI responsibly. Similarly, Reserve Bank of India also has set up a committee, right? Free AI, that is framework for responsible and ethical enablement of artificial intelligence. A committee has been set up to again study, to come up with a framework which the banks has to follow for again the responsible use of AI. Efficacy of insolvency law, this also we discuss as a part of the banking class. Insolvency Bankruptcy Code 2016, what is the efficiency? So it is highlighting, it is actually celebrating the performance of insolvency law, but parallelly the market criticizes the drawbacks in the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. Development in the capital market, financial market. So investor participation in the share market from 4.9 crore in financial year 20 has increased to 13.2 crores. So survey highlights that our market is not sensitive to what is happening in America, because something happens in America, then our investments in the share market will come down. But in these years, despite of global uncertainties, Indians' participation in the share market is increasing. Suggests reduced sensitivity of Indian markets to US markets movements. Private placements remains the preferred channel for the corporates. Private placements. So I am a corporate. I want to raise money. Issuing shares is one way of raising money. Yes or no? Now, Offices IAS Academy. Assume it is worth 100 crores. Now they want to expand their business. They can borrow money from the bank, or they can sell their property and raise money. All these are traditional ways. Another way is sell their ownership. So assume OAA is selling 20% of the ownership. 80% Israel sir is going to keep it. So definitely it is going to be, it is owned by Israel Jabbar Singh sir. But 20% he is giving it to the market. Right? That means this 20% value is 20 crores. By selling 20% of the shares, 20 crores will come to Israel sir. Now, how to sell this 20%? There is a process called as IPO, initial public offering. Why it is referred as public offering? Because any public can buy. I am selling it, any public can buy. That is IPO. Private placements means Israel sir will decide whom to sell. Tata wants to buy 20% stake. So he will directly give the 20% to Tata, or he will directly give 20% to Ambani. This is called as private placements. Right? So for corporates, that is the preferred channel. Instead of making advertisements, announcements, right? Instead of making people to buy my shares, I can convince one big investor, ask the person to buy. Are you able to understand? Nifty 50, the top 50 companies in Nifty, the past 10 years on an average, if you have invested in Nifty 50, in the last 10 years it would have given you 8.8% returns, okay, which survey is celebrating, but the market is not celebrating, because Nifty 50 or Sensex 30, in those companies if you are investing, on an average return should be 15%. The compounded annual growth rate should be around 15%, but it is 8.8% only, but still survey is celebrating it, so we will also celebrate. The total market capitalization of the BSE listed stocks has crossed $5 trillion milestone for the first time. So what is market capitalization? I remember I explained this. Yeah, so market capitalization is nothing but, so for example, you take Bombay Stock Exchange. Thousands of companies will be traded. Now each company will have a value. How that value is arrived? That is the price of the outstanding share, today's price, into total number of shares. Total number of shares. So total number of shares assume 1000. Price of a share assume 1000. That means the value of the company is 10 lakhs. So if the share price increases to 2000, then the market cap will become 20 lakhs. If the share price comes to 500, then the market cap will be 5 lakhs. So the market capitalization of BSE, are you able to understand? All the companies, the market capitalization of BSE listed stocks that has crossed $5 trillion for the first time. That means most of the companies' share price is increasing. Right? In contrast to the equity market, debt market remains undercapitalized. That means Offices IAS Academy wants to borrow money, wants to raise money. I said they can go to bank, they can go and sell their land, or they can pledge their gold, whatever, or they can sell their shares. Yes or no? They can sell their shares. But There's another way, that is selling shares will dilute ownership. But if they simply borrow from bank, it will not dilute ownership. So OAA is not willing to dilute ownership, but money is required. So SAR will go for bank. But there is another option for the big companies. What is it? They can issue bond. They can issue bond. They can make people to buy. This bond is 8% worth. You can buy, I can buy. Yes or no? Are you able to understand? So instead of OAA going to bank, if they go to bond, what will be the advantage for the economy? So Israel sir can go to SBI and borrow money, or Israel sir can come up with a OAA bond and ask the people to buy it. Clear? Yes.
You said bond. There is no security involved, right? Like no collateral.
Not necessary. That depends upon the bond. I am talking about, see, forget about OAA, think of L&T, established firm, credible firm. See, usually the bond interest will be higher, so people will get profit. But what I am seeing from the macro perspective is, if L&T goes to bank, a small MSME goes to bank, to whom bank will lend?
MSME under priorities.
That is okay, man, in general. L&T will be given priority, right? Right? Now, if L&T is not going to the bank because they raised money through bonds, that means the bank will have adequate resources to fund MSMEs. So big corporates, they should resort to bond market so that they need not come and put, and not pressure on banks, so that the bank's money supply will be available for the most needed people. Are you able to understand? If Reliance goes to SBI, do you think SBI will refuse? But Reliance has another option of raising money by issuing bonds only. Because if it is Reliance, you will definitely invest. So the big corporates, they should resort to bond market so that the bank's capital will be available for the most needed. So it will give you more money supply for the emerging businesses. The country will grow. But the bond market is not so deepened the way how equity market is in India. For example, if you take Korea, the bond market, the corporates raise money, 80% of their money they raise from bond market. But if you take 36% in China, but if you take India, it is only 18%. Are you able to understand? Either people are not aware about these avenues, how to invest in bonds, etc. Like shares, they are not investing in bonds because shares are easier to buy, easier to sell. Bonds are easier to buy, but it has a lock-in period. Of course, you can sell to someone else also. It is not difficult. People are not aware. So the bond market has to be deepened. Insurance sector. Insurance premium is growing by 7.7%. That is, you all pay insurance premium, right? LIC, this, that, etc. The premium amount which you contribute is growing by 7.7%. It has reached close to 11.2 lakh crores. Despite a slight decline in the insurance penetration. Insurance penetration means percentage of insurance premium in GDP. If GDP is 1000, the insurance premium you pay, all the insurance, he is paying bike insurance, he is paying car insurance, you are paying life insurance, you are paying health insurance, bring it to a value as a percentage of GDP you see. That is called as insurance penetration. Insurance density means percentage of premium in total population. Are you able to understand? In total population, so assume insurance premium is how much? 100? Population, population 500, okay, GDP 1000, right? When I say insurance penetration, percentage of premium in GDP, how much?
10%.
It is 10%. When I say insurance density, percentage of premium in population, how much? 5 ah?
100 upon 5.
25%, yeah, 20%. Population is 500.
Acha, you want as percentage?
Insurance premium as a percentage of population, 20%. Right? So, slight decline in the insurance penetration, but a modest rise in the insurance density. Development in the pension sector, the number of subscribers has increased. Total number of subscribers reached 78 crores. Majority of them is under Atal Pension Yojana. I was explaining Atal Pension Yojana in the current affairs class, focusing on unorganized sector. If you are between 18 to 40 years of age, you can start your contribution. After 60 years of age, you will be getting a returns of minimum 1000 to maximum 5000. After the subscriber's death, the same amount will go to the spouse. Even if spouse is dead, then the corpus will go to the nominee. Female subscribers are significantly high. Government has come up with a unified pension scheme recently that is also motivating people to invest in pension. UPS I will explain in detail in the current affairs class. Briefly, if you want me to say, UPS, so once you retire in government, what was your last drawn salary? From which 50% will be given as pension, right? But you should have worked at least for 20 plus years. Minimum 10 years you should have worked, for which the minimum pension will start from 10,000 rupees. I will explain the features later. If I am explaining now, it will consume a lot of time. I will explain the coming current affairs class about the unified pension scheme, the new pension scheme, the old pension scheme, what was the issues, etc. The next chapter is the external sector. See, there is a noticeable rise in the political proximity of trade. There is a concept called as friend shoring and near shoring. That means many countries, they are now started trading with friendly nations. Do you think India and China are friendly?
No.
But significant trade partner, right? Near shoring, friend shoring means you will trade with countries with more friendly relationship. Near shoring means you will trade with countries with geographical proximity, the neighboring countries. Globalization was actually breaking everything. It was making entire world united. Everyone was trading. The economic dependence or interdependence was actually diluting or was actually making the countries to drop their differences. We have a lot of differences with China, but it is the economic integration which is making us to drop all the difference. In a way, this economic interdependence is a reason for absence of Third World War. This economic interdependence which is actually creating peace. But today, we are seeing economic geo-fragmentation. We are seeing increased near-shoring and friend-shoring. The global trade in 2024 is set to exceed $33 trillion. India's trade performance. So, in the first 9 months of financial year 25, that is April to December 2024, our trade was $602.6 billion. Total imports $682 billion. Right? Trade deficit $79.5 billion. Mercantile trade deficit $210.8 billion. Textile, so they contribute 2.3% of GDP. See, textile, they give huge job opportunities next to agriculture. But if you take MSME as a whole, that is going to be the second contributor for the jobs. Separate industry, if you take next to agriculture, it will be textile. 2.3% of GDP, 13% to industrial production, 12% to exports, 45 million people are employed directly, 34 billion to the textile export will be worth $34 billion in 2023. Main destination for export is Europe and US. Right? Today we are diversifying our export market. For example, we are the top exporter of shipping vessels. We are leading exporter of iron and steel alloys. Services trade. So we are having a surplus in the services trade. So service export is $131 billion. Our share in the global service export is 4.3%. Of the overall global services export, our share is 4.3%. So in which the telecommunication, computer, information services, that exports are significantly high. E-commerce exports, our e-commerce exports are not that great. We have a huge scope to improve. I am talking about cross-border e-commerce sales. I am ordering something from Amazon US, not Amazon.in. So that will be sent to me. Like that, they can also order from Indian items. So cross-border e-commerce trade, that's a huge scope. But so we have only 1.5% share in the global market. So to improve this, what is the problem? There are a lot of items, exciting items, interesting items available in the Indian market, but such small players, they have no clue how to place their products in the international e-commerce platforms. Are you able to understand? So Guna is running an MSME, I come up with an interesting items, interesting water bottle, which can have, so imagine I'm creating a water bottle. However dirty the water is, you put it in the water bottle, press a button, it will clean it. There will be a filtering mechanism at the bottom, so it will clean it. So you need not worry, wherever you go to a forest, you find some water which is not clean, take it, it will filter. Imagine I am having such wonderful product. This is going to have a worldwide attraction, but I should know how to market my product in the global e-commerce platforms. For that, to help such MSMEs, to help the small players, government has set up an initiative called as E-commerce Export Hub Initiative. So this will help the small enterprises, artisans, ODOP. So government, every district they are taking one product and they are trying to boost its businesses. So this E-commerce Export Hub Initiative will help them to improve their share in the e-commerce international cross-border trade. So external sector stability, mercantile trade, see these things we discussed. Remittances has increased, current account deficit is contained, FDI increased, etc. FPI volatile, Forex 704.9, import cover is more than 10 months. So in terms of Forex reserve, we have been ranked 4th globally, following China, Japan and Switzerland. Same thing only, it was in the chapter 1, here also they are repeating it. Our debt position, our external debt to GDP ratio is 19.4%. Our external debt to GDP ratio is 19.4%. The share of short-term debt is 18.8%. That means my GDP is 1000. My external debt is 200. So my debt to GDP ratio is 20%, almost 19.4 here. Okay. So in this 200, 40 rupees or $40 you put, that is short term in nature. That means from India we have borrowed 1 year loan from America, short term debt. So out of this $200, $40 is short term in nature. Are you able to understand? That is good actually, because you need not give it back immediately. If it is short term debt, means it is not going to stay with you for a longer time. Long term means it is going to be with you for a longer time. Of all the debt, dollar denominated debt was the highest, followed by rupee denominated borrowing. That means you will borrow in foreign currency, but denomination will be in rupee. Are you able to understand that? I am borrowing $1. I promise to repay $2. Okay. During the time of borrowing, $1 is 100 rupees. Okay. So what is my assumption? I borrowed 100 rupees worth dollar. I will repay 200 rupees worth dollar. That is my assumption. But on the time of repayment, $1 became 200 rupees. What is the consequence? I will end up repaying 400 rupees worth dollars. This is the problem in the dollar based borrowing. Rupee denominated borrowing means I will borrow 100 rupees worth dollar. I will repay 200 rupees worth dollar. The debt is denominated in terms of rupee, but borrowing happens in dollars. What is the consequence? On the time of borrowing, $1 was 100 rupees. I thought I am borrowing 100 rupees worth of dollar, I will pay 200 rupees. But during the time of repayment, $1 became 200 rupees. So how much I will repay? I am borrowing $1. I thought I will be repaying $2, but I will end up paying how much? Same $1. This is called as rupee denominated debt. Right? Masala bonds, have you heard about masala bonds? All those are rupee denominated debt. Okay. SDR, special drawing rights, IMF. Euro 3%, IMF, SDR 5%. We will start with inflation. So inflation is a small chapter, then deregulation drives growth. We will see about government's ambition, what is the impact of globalization, what is geo-economic fragmentation, what is the impact of climate transition, what are the challenges we will discuss. Chapter 6 deals with investment in infrastructure. We discussed about NIP, NMP, National Infrastructure Pipeline, National Monetization Pipeline, all those things. Railway contribution, road transport, civil aviation, port and shipping, power sector, telecommunication, information technology, rural drinking water, Jal Jeevan Mission, Swachh Bharat Gramin, Swachh Bharat Urban, Amrut, tourism, Prashad scheme, Swadesh Darshan scheme. Then chapter 7 will be about business reforms, about the global manufacturing, how China is growing, what is the challenge for India, in cement where we are, steel where we are, chemical, petrochemical where we are, capital goods where we are, automobile industry where we are, electronics, textiles, pharmaceuticals. We have developed a therapy called as CAR T cell therapy that I will explain in detail. Right? What is cancer, everything we will discuss. So innovations, R&D, MSME, state-wise contribution, all those we will see. Then service sector contribution. Okay, railways, road transport, aviation, ports, other services.